Knudsen. I'm the CFO at TwinDisc. I've been with TwinDisc 20 years, so just getting sort of broken in, have some knowledge of what we do and why we do it. Happy to share with you guys today a little bit of our story, what our strategy looks like, what our priorities are, the markets we're in, the products we sell. I would say, in general, we're a small public company, like probably a lot of companies here. We're 350 million in revenue, roughly. And we're a fairly complex story. We've got a big footprint. We're in a lot of markets around the world, a lot of different products. So you have to be a little bit patient in trying to follow the story. Standard disclosures that everybody's familiar with. Probably starting with and leaving you with at the end just some highlights on why we think TwinDisc is an important company for you all to be looking at. So we have a leadership position in a lot of niche markets around the world. We're well positioned in particularly strong markets with tailwinds, in particular defense, hybrid transmissions. We've got an existing backlog. We're delivering product to some of these new markets, new exciting markets. We'll get into some of them. Unmanned vessels for the U.S. Navy, the European NATO military spending growth trajectory, all good news for us. With that, and with some of our acquisitions, we've got margin improving. We've got a good track record of the acquisitions we've done, integrating those, realizing the synergies, and financially we're solid. Strong balance sheet, strong cash flow. We're conservative. We don't take big risks. We don't take big bets. It's a company you can sleep well at night as CFO and know you're in a good position. So in broad strokes, we're an old company. We've been around for 107 years. Currently headquartered in Milwaukee, started in Racine, Wisconsin, doing industrial products, started as the Alice, part of the West Alice tractor, supplying product to them. Currently, we have 1,000 employees worldwide, roughly 341 million of revenue last year. You can see the product group breakout. We're fairly well diversified. Marine at 59%. When we talk about marine, that's marine and propulsion. So we'll get into a little bit of what that means. Marine is marine transmissions. Propulsion would be things like azimuth thrusters, surface drives, and propellers. And that's about a fairly even split within that 59%. Land-based systems are transmissions that go into off-highway applications. So one notable one is frac transmissions for fracking rigs. Obviously, North America, a big market for us. China's a big market for us. We sell transmissions to the ARF vehicles, so airport rescue and firefighting, big market for us, and then military. Industrial at 12%, that's sort of the beginning of the company. That's clutches, PTOs, pump drives, brakes. Now we acquired an industrial brake company. So the biggest market globally, the most fragmented market globally, and for us, a focus for growth. We bought Cobelt recently, a Canadian company that manufactures industrial brakes, to try and continue to grow that and even out our product revenue exposure. In terms of geography, we're now, with some of the acquisitions we've done, we have 31% of our revenue coming from Europe. It used to be more, close to 50% coming from North America historically, in particular when oil and gas was very strong. So we're pretty well balanced there geographically. This, obviously, in 107 years, there are some notable events. I won't go through all of them, but I would just point out, I guess, we didn't do many acquisitions at all for the first 100 years or so of the company. And we lived through some pretty painful cycles in the oil and gas market, the fracking market in the U.S., where there would be irrational spending. We would ramp up. We would make a ton of money. Record revenue, record margin, and then it would go to zero. And we would fight for survival for a couple of years until it came back. And the good times are great, but not great enough to make us feel good about the bad times. So we embarked on a bit of a strategy. Starting in 2018, we acquired VET, a propulsion company in the Netherlands, azimuth thruster company. And it was a company with a great technology, a new technology, only 4 or 5 other companies in the world doing it. An azimuth thruster is sort of an articulating propulsion propeller underneath the vessel. And we felt like we could grow that business. It was a regional company, family owned, did very well in Western Europe, but struggled to go into Asia, North America, South America, because a propulsion system on a boat is kind of mission critical for that boat. If it doesn't work, you're not going anywhere. So these boat builders around the world, while they recognize it's a good product, we see that the technology is great. Who's going to be here to make it work if we have an issue? How do we get comfortable? And the way they got comfortable is TwinDisc, right? We've got 100 and some years of supplying marine transmissions to all those customers around the world. We've got a global service network. We've got a global sales network. So that is really the difference maker in some of these regional companies in allowing them to grow around the world. And what we've seen is approximately doubling of their revenue since we bought them. And that's with a bit of a hiccup during the COVID years where projects were few and far between and very price competitive. Coming out of COVID, their growth trajectory has been incredible and doesn't seem to have a cap on it just yet. And we followed that up with a couple of acquisitions recently, and we'll get into maybe a little bit more of the products and applications later, but we acquired a Finnish company, Katsa, about 1.5 years ago, industrial company, and then we acquired Cobelt, a Canadian company that makes industrial brakes and marine controls and propulsion solutions. And both of those are a similar kind of approach. They're regional companies, very good products, quality products, respected companies, good management teams that struggle to grow outside of their region because of who they are. They're a $20 to $40 million company in their hometowns, basically. So those acquisitions, are still, beginning to ramp up in terms of the exposure, the synergies that we had estimated, but it's given us a lot of confidence that strategy works, that we can take these regional companies, assuming, right, that we do the good work around their good products, their markets that we understand, the products we can support, and we can help them grow around the world. So to give you an idea of what our products are, these are just a few of them. So marine propulsion, that's a pleasure craft boat up there. That's our VET azimuth thruster is underneath that boat. Give another picture of that later on. That's that market, marine propulsion, it's almost every boat you can imagine that doesn't go on a trailer or doesn't go across an ocean. So every patrol craft, pleasure craft, tugboat, offshore supply vessel, river boat, river commerce, so push boat up and down the rivers in North America and Europe, Viking riverboat cruises, ferries, Staten Island ferries, Sydney ferries. Those are all our transmissions, right? And we compete really with 2 other global marine transmission manufacturers. That's ZF in Germany and Reinches in Germany. On the land-based side, we already sort of talked about that. Oil and gas, ARF, and what you see there is an ARF vehicle. That's the Airport Rescue Firefighting Vehicle, and military. And then on the industrial side, it's standard industrial stuff. It's rock crushers, shredders, irrigation pumps, anything that needs to be started and stopped in an industrial application. What's exciting to us right now, and exciting to people that we talk to, people like you that we talk to, is the defense market, right? That's what's growing. That's the new story to us. It's always been a layer of our business. We've always done well, but there are a couple of aspects to it that are making it a real growth driver for at least the next 3 to 5 years. U.S. defense spending ramping up, in particular naval spending. We've way underspent as a country on the naval fleet, spent a lot of money on land-based, desert-based conflicts, but a lot of catching up to do in spending on the naval fleet. NATO is ramping up their spending. I think that's well known and well discussed, and we're well positioned to take advantage of that. We're already supplying products to all of those markets, and we're already getting orders and indications of the kind of ramp up that they're looking for. So we're really excited in terms of our products, right? Organic growth outside of the hyper-cyclical oil and gas market. Organic growth is typically GDP kind of growth. Our markets are generally pretty mature. This is kind of a breakout for our existing products. You combine this with the acquisition strategy, there's a lot of growth levers in front of us. So what's our strategy? Hybrid electric has been a focus for us. We can see that it's not an overnight transition for, even for automotive, right? It's had its pauses and detractors, let's say, but it's not going away. In our markets, there isn't anything like Tesla volume, right? It's a boat builder building 10 tugboats. It's a crane manufacturer building 4 cranes. And they're not going to invest internally in the expertise to how do we make this thing move full electric, hybrid electric. They look to a company like us. Like they have a crane, Manitowoc company, right? A very well-established crane company comes to us and says, we have these cranes, we want to make them move full electric. How do we do it? And we're the company that can make that happen. It's expensive, right? There's no getting around it. It's expensive for all of these applications, land-based or water-based. We've done electric tugboats. We did the Maid of the Mist, the full electric tour boat at Niagara Falls. So we'll continue to drive our expertise in that market because it's only going to grow. I don't think it's going to grow exponentially in the near term, but it's going to continue to grow. We'll continue to take the acquisitions that we have and look for more acquisitions to new markets, new geographies. We've seen that work, in beyond our expectations with VET. So, we fully expect to continue to realize that. We have a global footprint, and we have a slide in here showing what our global footprint is. And we've historically looked at it as overly complex, and it probably is. But today, in the world of tariffs, is giving us some options. We have manufacturing, and maybe I'll just jump to that so we can talk about it. So we have manufacturing all across Europe, Canada, America, and then so we have locations in Asia. As we ship today, we have manufacturing of ARF transmissions in Wisconsin that get shipped to Europe and to the Middle East. That there's a tariff issue there, obviously, right? We're bringing in product from components from India and shipping them out for export. So we have options to assemble those in some of our European facilities. We have China oil and gas units going into China that we could assemble at our Singapore facility. So in this world of likely a continuation of a tariff structure, at least in some form like it is today, we have the ability to look at moving our production and our assembly to other locations around the world to help us be more competitive. So I think that's enough on that. Hybrid electric, we talked about it. There are applications across our spectrum: workboat, pleasure craft, passenger, e-frac. We have an e-frac solution, so electric fracking. We also have a frac solution to go behind a natural gas engine. So we're well positioned across all of our end markets to capitalize on any movement in hybrid or full electric. And what it provides us, when we provide a full solution instead of just a transmission, it's 5 to 10 times more content. So we're providing the battery, the motor, all the all the controls, everything to make that vessel or piece of equipment move. So it drives a lot more revenue at our standard margin, let's say. Even though there's a lot of pass-through content in that project, we're getting compensated for what we bring, the know-how, the knowledge, and the investment we've made in knowing how to make it work. One example of this is our boat. So that's our boat over there, the Riviera. We've torn out the entire propulsion system, and we're replacing it with that. You can't really see it, I guess, very well. It's on rails. Those are all components that will get bolted into the bottom of that boat, and that becomes the propulsion system. It's an incredibly complex undertaking to take an existing boat that has been built around a certain kind of propulsion and totally redo it. And we're trying to find a way to make that sort of a standard application where we can drop that in to any boat within that size range and make it work. And to this point, it has worked very well. Veth is another, I touched on it, Veth's the azimuth thruster business that we bought back in 18. Like I said, they were about 45 million, did 83 million last year. They'll do, they're on that trajectory, let's say. So will continue to be a growth story for us. Talked about that. And M&A becomes a continuing strategy, a continuing focus for us, because what we found is we can make it work, right? We can take those regional companies with our name and our global footprint and our reputation for quality and service and support, an investment we've made in ourselves for the last 100 years, and bring the opportunity for those companies to grow globally. So we'll continue to do that. I think we will continue to look at the kinds of investments that we've made. So, in that 20 to 50, $60 million range, not a bet the company kind of acquisition likely, unless something became kind of something we couldn't refuse. But our approach would be manageable from a financial standpoint, manageable from an integration standpoint, and things that move us along our strategy, and that would be marine technology or the industrial space. These are the two that I talked about: Katsa in Finland, Cobelt in Canada. I'll talk a little bit more about what Katsa has brought to us in the last year. I think one thing important to anybody looking at the company is what do we expect to generate cash. What do we expect to do with that cash? I think for us right now, coming off of 2 recent acquisitions, we're still in a very good position in terms of net debt. We're about 1 times EBITDA. But as we look to do another acquisition, we would initially look to bring that debt even down further. So that's what we're working on, I would say, right now as we look for that next acquisition. The dividend was paused for several years as we went through a few of those oil and gas cycles I mentioned. We brought it back, and the question always was, when are we going to bring it back and why? And we always wanted to make sure the messaging was, we'll bring it back when we feel as strongly as we do about the outlook for the company, our ability to consistently generate revenue, generate margin, and most importantly, generate cash to support that dividend. So we would not, bring it back, pause it, bring it back, take it down, from 4 cents to 2 cents. We brought it back at 4 cents. When it went away, it was 9 cents. So we brought it back in a reasonable way. In some ways as a signal, and in some ways that we're a dividend-paying company. We have that kind of stability and outlook in our earnings and our cash flow. We'll continue to invest in organic growth. So I said we've got the defense in front of us. That will require some spending to capitalize on those opportunities. Then we'll continue to look at acquisitions as a key part of our strategy. Already went through that, just a reminder. That's sort of the end of the deck, I guess. So That's 20 minutes. That's pretty good. Questions? Yeah.
So it sounds like a lot of you guys are doing well, is kind of that large scale commercial application,
Sorry, what?
kind of like the large scale industrial commercial application stuff. Is there any plan or you see trying to get more into like competing with like all kind of marine space and small like boat application?
So we,
Like Eaton and Allison or land-based stuff, like everyday cars?
no, no, we would, that's a different ballgame. We compete against Allison and Cat in oil and gas fracking. For us, that can be, I think it was around 12% of our business last year. For Allison, it's less than 1% of their business. So it's not what we do well, the automotive style. It's a totally different business for us. We looked at one time competing against Volvo in a more of a pleasure craft pod kind of situation. It really wasn't for us. It's not what we did well. So I don't see higher volume kind of mass production kind of stuff for us.
Are you behind the manufacturing of everything as part of these systems, including the hydraulics, or are there certain parts or partial areas of that system that you
Outsource? Yeah. For the hybrid electric, there's a lot of it that we outsource. So for the hybrid electric solutions, we would provide the electronic controls, the transmission, but anything, let's say, electric related, so the battery, the inverters, the motors, all that would be outsourced. When you talk about our standard product, we have a kind of a broad range of approaches there. So the VET azimuth thruster, we essentially assemble it and test it. We source all the componentry, the housings, the gearing, all that. One of the ways we bought Katsa was they're a supplier of gears to VET, right? So we knew them through that relationship, and we had to started to understand who that owner was and what his situation was. So it's a little bit of a mix. In the U.S., we produce all of our gearing in the U.S. We machine our housings. We source the housings from India. So it's kind of a mix in terms of vertical integration. Anybody else? No? All right.
As you've been investing in hybrid and electrification solutions, and where are you seeing the most customer interest, and how do those initiatives really differentiate TwinDisc in the market?
Yeah, so the most interest is on the marine side because of two things, either government incentives or government mandates. So we've done some tugboats on the West Coast where the government is mandated they be hybrid electric. So the cost is ridiculous, quite honestly. Just the propulsion system that we're providing is the same cost as the whole boat used to cost, but it's mandated, right? And in Europe, there's regulations around noise and/or emissions in harbors, so you need to go full electric. There isn't a choice. So in those situations, we do well because we are one of the only companies that can make it work, right? And it's important enough to us to invest in it. So again, these are 5, 10, 15 would be a huge run of these boats. Most companies aren't going to invest the kind of time and energy it takes to do that well for that kind of volume. Everyone is different. We don't even take all of them. We get a lot of inquiries. A lot of people are still out there just trying to figure out what does it mean? Like, if I had to do it, how much could it cost? And there's always sticker shock around how much it actually costs. But we're seeing more and more traction, I would say, on the marine side, in tugboats, in some pleasure craft. We did. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Hinckley boat manufacturer and their picnic boat. We did a full electric picnic boat with Hinckley. So a lot of those applications more so than land-based.
With more than 6,000 small and micro-cap companies listed, If you're looking for the next Apple, then Channel Check truly is the orchard. It's an investor community where you can access independent Wall Street research, advanced market data, balanced news, corporate videos, and podcasts. You can even register to attend in-person Meet the Management Series luncheons, and to be part of the preeminent annual Small and Microcap Investor Conference, NobleCon. And here's the best news. Since Channel Check is sponsored by the featured companies, premium membership requires no investment. It's absolutely free. So check it out. Log in today. Find out why Channel Check is North America's leading source of research on the companies that just may change the world.